Let me say good morning to everyone who's listening to Classic 105. Those of you also in tune to GBN TV, good morning to you. Let's say good morning to our social media audience also. Those of you via our Facebook page, those of you who are viewing and listening via our YouTube channel, let me say good morning and welcome. It's Thursday, the 23rd day of February, folks. And on Thursdays, on to the point, we usually accommodate members of the Royal Grenada Police Force, different division. This morning we have the Central Division. I hope I'm getting it right. Central Division with us this morning, and we have certainly lots to talk about as usual. And don't forget, viewers and listeners, your participation is also invited. When that segment comes around, I'll invite you to make that call. If you do have a question or two you'd like to ask the officers, they certainly will welcome your questions, and once it's within their reach, they will certainly be able to answer it for you also. So let me say good morning, and to the officers with me this morning, we have Sergeant Henry. Good morning to you, sir, and Constable Colvin. Let me say good morning to both of you and welcome.
Good morning to you, GT, and of course to your listeners of GBN. On to the point. We say thank you, and we appreciate you having us here.
All right. So welcome once again. This morning, the focus will be in the intro. We'll be talking about prettier larceny, and you know, from time to time, we know it's a problem that farmers do complain a lot, not only farmers but individuals who may just have that little backyard garden or something, and it's probably exposed in a way where individuals may venture onto their properties and remove their whatever products that they may what they may be producing for livelihood or maybe for recreational purposes also. But tell us about prettier larceny and how you like to bring it across this morning in depth. What is, first and foremost, what is prettier larceny before we get into all of it?
All right. Prettier larceny, of course, is the detaching of stealing from its current reality. So it's not just about stealing. If you just detach a prettier larceny product, for example, you take a pear, but you didn't go away with it, but you detach from the branch, that amounts to prettier larceny.
All right. So by simply just going to take it off somebody's
once
tree,
you detach
it from the tree.
Detach from the tree.
All right. Even in not the intention of maybe not the intention you say is stealing it, but you take it off the tree, not for steal, maybe not for steal, but you see a pear, you're taking it.
You must have an intention.
Maybe
intention must be to steal or to go away with it.
Well, once you didn't ask for it properly, it's considered in that way. All right.
Yes.
All right. No. As we move through the conversation this morning, and we'll delve in pretty larceny. For the individual who are and listeners and viewers out there who will be listening to us this morning, what are some of the laws that governs prettier larceny? What are kind of problems individuals run into in speaking in layman terms, in terms of getting themselves involved in stuff like that?
Right. I don't want to do all the talking. I'm the supervisor, and I have my man who actually fights prettier larceny. So I'll introduce him. Let him.
All right. So that's Corporal Colvin. Good morning to you, sir. Constable. My apology, Constable Colvin. I'm giving you a different title. My apologies for that. I always seem to mix them up. Anyway, so tell us.
Yes. Well, in that aspect, there's a lot of laws surrounding prettier larceny, and there is two sections of the where prettier larceny governs under prettier larceny and vagrancy. So if you're been brought to court on prettier larceny, that matter is separate from vagrancy. That charge will be read differently.
Okay.
Right? So it will be read like for you, the defendant, had in your possession like a quantity of yams, So the magistrate will censor you on that part.
All right.
And then we have vagrancy, where once you've been found on that person's property without the consent, you can also be charged.
Okay. What are some of the what we see in terms of the penalties that could derive from that?
Well, I will not be able to speak on the penalties, but if you are a regular offender to the court, the magistrate will use your discretion and sentence you based on that. And if you're maybe a first-time offender, the penalty might be less, or a fine could be given, as well as a prison term could be imposed.
All right. Now, a lot of this will go across to the individuals who have their property and stuff. What are the measures individuals should be taking in terms of protecting their properties and stuff against that happening?
Well, besides the farm watch being set up in different villages and parishes, we visited the Ministry of Agriculture together with the Pre-Larceny Department. They had brought in some cameras, and before that was done, farmers had taken on their own to bring in those cameras to set up in the garden and on the farm to secure the place, because not every time a farmer will be on his property to see what's happening. So in that aspect, that camera will be set up, and once that camera is set up, that camera could also be set up to your phone based on the type of phone you have, so you can maybe have a view of what is happening in your farm or garden.
All right.
Just to put some more light on this, one will want to know what are, as you say, the measures to take. Now, I normally tell the people there are the social measures. That's where the police deal with community measures. For example, farm watch, police farm watch is a social measure.
All right.
That could do proactive measures and reactive measures as it relates to pre-larceny. If you have a good farm watch setup, as we have it in the past, what you'll find, every farmer looks at each other's farm.
It's like your brother's keeper.
Your brother's keeper. And we come back to the old thing, neighborhood watch.
Yes.
Then, of course, you have the scientific measures. That's where we now go into the aspect of visual
cameras and so forth.
And there are cameras now, and I must hasten to say, it has worked, and we have got result. We had captured a number of persons with those cameras. So, apart from the naked eyes, naturality, we have a scientific measure that works, and it's very, very effective. Right. Being at night, the vision of the camera is great. So we have two things to work with. But the first one, the social measures, is based on the community of farmers. The amount of persons that travels that area look out for each other. And the other one is purely and wholly on your own, the scientific measures, which of course have a cost to it. Yes. The cost is alleviated, of course, through Pre-Larceny and the Ministry of Agriculture. However, there are farmers that can afford it, there are a lot of farmers that can't afford it. But we urge persons, especially farmers that produce this large quantum of produce, we urge them to take the scientific way.
All right. It's for some reason they may not be able to watch every product that they have. It may be difficult depending on the size of the farm that they have also.
It goes back to the story that says a man sat up whole night waiting for a thief. Yeah. And when 5 a.m., he went inside just to turn off his light. And when he returned, the product was gone. So you just can't watch 24/7.
All right. No, we've been hearing a lot about it, especially with folks, who commit those particular crimes. What kind of advice would you like to give out there, especially individuals who want to, purchase those produce from individuals, not knowing how they came about the produce and so forth? What kind of advice would you like to give it, especially to like a general information you want to throw?
So I'll do it on two parts. I will do the part as it relates to vendors' operation and the Pre-Larceny. And Carville will do the part as it relates to the end product, where people go and steal, sell for one another. For example, vendors are vendors, and the aim and objective is to sell produce, vegetable produce, and make an income, make a living. What we urge these vendors to do, because we realize in the past, history had proved to us that most of the Pre-Larceny produce are being sold to vendors at a cheap rate. And ourselves consume. The buyers, you go to your shop and you buy Pre-Larceny produce, not knowing where it comes from. Yes. So we urge vendors to be assertive as to the authenticity of that produce. In other words, somebody doesn't work lands. They don't have land. Why purchase?
And they're not even someone who's into farming.
and not even someone who into farming. Then we have information in the past where vendors encourage persons to go and steal us, farmers' produce. So we urge vendors not to do it. Don't encourage persons to steal. And at the same breath, we urge farmers to go out to the markets and look at the different produce that is being available on the market. It helps you in preparation for the future, and it also helps you to detect when a demand is at hand. You know what crops you have. If you visit the market regularly, make time to visit the market, see what is at the market.
Yeah.
When you're sold, you might not get your produce, but you will see the different produce coming in.
Okay.
And sometimes farmers know the produce.
So true.
Every orange comes from a different village or parish, have a different shape, size, and even color. The texture of that skin is different.
I never knew that.
It is so true.
All right.
And Carvel will deal now with the part as it relates to farmers stealing from farmers and all such.
Well,
Yes, GT. On that note, persons that legally purchase stuff illegally purchase stuff from persons and knowing that they don't have any property, there's a charge also for that.
okay.
And that charge is dishonestly receiving. So you knowing that person have no property and still purchase produce from that person, you can also be charged as a vendor, as a supermarket owner. You can be charged for dishonestly receiving. And no one should purchase any amount of produce over 15 pounds and does not obtain a receipt. Once you purchase any amount of produce over 15 pounds, you should obtain a receipt from anyone. Because as a farmer, a bypasser who is selling like that, you must be able to obtain a receipt.
All right. All right. Is it also a recommendation that you as an individual should identify themselves as a farmer, so who you want to purchase produce of?
What we have done in the past is encourage persons who are doing short crops and long-term farming is to go to the Ministry of Agriculture and obtain the farmer's ID. And in doing so, once you go to sell for a supermarket or anyone, it's their rights to question you to see your ID card or question you on if you are the owner of any property before purchasing. Because someone could come to you and say that person sent them to sell that for you, and that is not true.
Okay.
So we encourage persons to go to the right channel, go to the ministry, obtain your farmer's ID, and then things will go different from there.
All right. Let's take a break here, officers. We're coming right back, folks. It's To The Point for today, Thursday. We take a break, folks. We're coming right back.
No, that's not how you cross the pedestrian crossing.
Really? One day I just woke up and I saw pedestrian crosswalks on the road. No one really showed me how to use them properly.
Well, this is how it's done. You never cross before doing these things. They might save your life. First, when you get to the crosswalk, you stop. You look left, you look right. If there's a vehicle coming, you put your hand out, making eye contact with the driver, indicating that you want to cross. And only when the vehicle comes to a complete stop, you quickly cross to the other side.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact. Wait for pedestrian to cross to the other side, then you happily continue on your journey. This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Wait to see my granddaughter.
want to say welcome back to our listeners and viewers this morning. To the point for today, Thursday, the 23rd day of February. We have the Central Division of the Royal Grenada Police Force with us this morning. And we're talking pretty larceny. And another point that we want to get into this morning, pretty larceny does not basically based in terms of folks stealing agricultural products or produce, I should say.
That is true.
You know, it leads also to someone may have who may be a livestock farmer. You know, the sheep, goats, you know, cows, whatever they do. How prevalent is that? And what are some of the precautions you like to pass out to individuals like that? And especially going out to folks who maybe want to purchase these livestock from individuals, not knowing that they are individuals who are rearing or maybe a farmer dealing with livestock.
Yes, GT. Of course, the Stock Trespass Act is an act for itself that deals with the life of animals, the rearing of animals, the keeping of animals, right to the end product of the butchering of animals. And of course, we have the problem now with livestock.
Yeah.
Livestock owners is going through tremendous problems of stealing. A lot of animals go missing. And we know fully well it's stealing is done in an organized way. For example, a vehicle passes you at night may not have passengers only.
Yeah.
It may well have an animal in it. And we have this problem where people passes and steal people animal, heave it in the back of the trunk, all sorts of vehicle. You could just imagine a man heaving an animal in the trunk of a car. He does that to a jeep. He does that to a truck or a van or a rover. So they have this, if you call it, smart way now of transporting stolen animals. And it happens in the night, it happens in the day. And that brings a lot of discomfort to villagers and livestock owners. Sometimes an animal go, first thing you tend to believe it's around your neighborhood. And our experience have now taught us it's no longer the neighbor or no longer somebody in that community. That animal may well be in the parish.
Okay.
And that's why we warning people now. The purchasing of meat is a serious indictment on your part now. You have to ensure that whoever you purchase meat from goes through the right channel, goes through the abattoir, goes through the Ministry of Health that authorize and stamp that meat as healthy for consumption. So we have to ensure, or you have to ensure, that you don't just buy meat in the street anyhow again. You purchase meat by questioning. Have your meat been inspected by the health inspector? You want to ask the question because your health and your family health is at stake. And Carville will tell you all about different methods. Sometimes a genuine pesticide or medicine could get rid of a whole family.
Yeah, I understand that. Because there are times individuals may be in the process of taking care of the animals in a certain way, the health of the animal. And just around that time, someone pass and take it away, which could lead to someone running into a problem health-wise themselves also. Calvin, so tell us.
Yeah, well, what usually happens, the person who usually steal those animals, they don't usually use them for themselves. So they will sell it to someone, and the person that buy that animal may kill it and sell it to persons. So sometimes you don't usually affect the buyer, but you affect the consumer. And sometimes medication could be given to animals, and it can be detrimental to human. And that medication sometimes could be given to that specific animal, and you go and steal that animal, and you buy that meat from that butcher or somebody that is selling on the side of the road. And then you may go and cook that meat for your family, or you may have a restaurant, and you could wipe out a whole family or a whole neighborhood. You understand? So we always try to synthesize the public on persons stealing animal and persons going to buy meat. Always find out who they purchase that animal from before buying that meat.
All right. There's a pretty larceny task force in Grenada, I understand. How prevalent is pretty larceny in Grenada on a serious level?
Well, pretty larceny, of course, continue to plague the nation. You only have farmers crying out every day of Pretty Elasny from the farms. I must say that we have units right around the island. May not be manned properly, but the little that we have as a force, we try our best to work with the farmers. And that's when it comes to our own in-house operational security for farmers' farms. And I could speak, for example, to the north of the island. A number of stakeouts has been planned and executed in aid of curbing Pretty Elasny. Of course, some has bear fruit. It's like a watchman. You watch every day. You will not capture someone every day, but you have to keep watching every single day. And we do stakeouts both day and night.
Okay.
And it's our operation is done based on demand and based on trend. And I say trend, for example, you may have stealing in a particular area. You want to set up something to deal with that particular stealing. And it is done, as I say, around the clock, day or night. And then the demand, a farmer will realize, listen, you have a lot of ginger. Ginger is scarce in the market. His ginger is likely to be ready in the next 3 weeks to a month. And he asks for specific protection. And you, as a police, as a Pretty Elastic task force, you want to solve the persons that is in your district.
Yes.
So you will try your best and see how you could walk around his farm alongside or coincide with other farms. So for example, you will not just go and sit down on his farm, but you may want to do circumference leading towards his farm. So his farm in the middle, you do a patrol from outskirts to come to his farm, from his farm to go to our other farm. So in the same breath, sometimes you have the farm watch, which is very effective in sorties. The president, he sometimes volunteer to go out with the police,
Okay.
which is good. We bring and build community camaraderie. And that's where our social units have been strengthened. The community come into the police and take part and actually help us to institute some of those programs.
So you're saying there's a strong community base in certain areas, so it communicates with the task force to help eliminate?
Very well. Even sometimes in the area of transport. Even sometimes in the area of transport, they assist with transport. Because sometimes transport might be the call, because sometimes I might be the call and say, listen, I observe someone passing through that area with a bag, and we don't have resources. And we're able to call a farmer, and a farmer will literally come and go with the police in that area, just with the intention of protecting his or his neighbor's farm. And that's why the police force now is heavily dependent on social identity, community policing.
That's understandable. Well, we certainly hope that, the problem has been plaguing the island for years in terms of people who go through that, especially the farmers and so forth. And the effect of Pretty Elasny over the years has caused lots of farmers problems. And a while ago, of course, the constable did mention to us, ways in which farmers can curb the problem, the penalties and so forth that could derive if individuals get themselves. Now, let's kick a little pin and deal more with the part of the livestock farmers for a wee bit. What are some of the advice you would like to give to individuals out there, especially to the listening and viewing public this morning, in terms of the purchasing of meat? Because I know you did mention a while ago, folks could have their animals, be dewormed and others, but how do you really go about, making this not happen? In terms of when I say not happen, in terms of want to deter, maybe that use for a better word, deter individuals from wanting to go out and do that in terms of stealing people products.
Well, the deterrence, of course, is the end product of being captured, and you can be sentenced to prison, of course, up to 5 years, right? Then you have the other aspect of the health aspect, where you as a purchaser, you as a family man, goes to that meat stall and purchase meat, or goes to a village and see some meat hanging up and feel that meat look good. and you want to purchase meat on the street. That is a killer. You want to make sure, first you want to ask the question, who was the owner of this animal? Has this meat been inspected? If not, why? How long has this meat been butchered? Because there is a structure now for butchering.
Yeah.
And if persons butchered outside that structure, you have to make sure there is authenticity of the animal. Who was the owner? Who was the purchaser? Is that purchaser a reliable person you could, or a trustworthy person you could trust? You want to make sure all those things. And if you have doubt, I say don't buy.
Because, you know, from time to time, you do see folks set up little booths by the road and they start selling meat and stuff, especially a seasonal time of the year. You understand? What are some of the do's and don'ts you will continue to say in terms of advice?
Well, the do's is that I'm aware that the Ministry of Health now has a number of persons that goes out to the village. You can call them and they will come to your area and inspect your meat and stamp your meat as good for consumption. So that's the good. The don'ts, persons wanting to kill, I advise you. You should consult with the Ministry of Health and get to do it the proper way. Because one day something can happen and the person can turn back and sue you.
All right.
So it's your personal responsibility on both ends. And on the legal aspect of it, you could well purchase meat that
It's contaminated,
is contaminated
in some way or the other.
And as I say, it could be genuine contamination due to some medication that is given to enhance that meat or that animal prior to its death. So one have to be very, very careful as to what action he or she intends to take when, especially out in the villages.
All right. We drew for another break. Listeners and viewers out there, don't forget the number 435-2041. If you do have a question or two you'd like to ask the officers, I'm sure they would like to answer you. 435-2041. Let's take a break. I'll be coming right back.
Vaccines protect you and they protect me. Getting vaccinated is one of the most important things you can do to keep yourself and your family safe and healthy. Once enough people are immunized, opportunities for an outbreak of disease becomes very low. And if we all choose to get vaccinated, we contribute in getting back to spending quality time with our loved ones in a safe way. Choose to get vaccinated. Vaccines bring us closer.
Looking for that injection of vibes and energy, of course? Well, I've got just that. Hi, my name is Gary, Mr. Smooth, and I'm inviting you to join me on the Hot Morning Show on Hot 98.5, 98.7 FM. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 in the morning. I've got a healthy dose of your favorite and most infectious hits sampled with Insta and all the other ingredients that go into making the hottest morning show on the radio. The Morning Heat. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit us up on WhatsApp, 435-7517. We've got topics, we've got discussions, calls, voice notes, and so much more. But I can't tell you everything. You gotta tune in. The Hot Morning Show on Hot FM 98.5 with yours truly, Gary, Mr. Smooth. Kaboom!
Welcome back, listeners and viewers. This morning, it's To The Point here on GBN TV and also on Classic Radio. We're talking to of course, the officers this morning. Our main focus is Pretty Alasni. We're talking all aspects of it this morning. Now, another aspect of Pretty Alasni, if it falls into that particular category, from time to time you may hear farmers, individuals complaining, well, this farmer has a have goats, have sheep, you understand, or yes, a particular cow, and that is keep coming into my property. Does that fall under the Pridia Lasny also?
You could say it's a
Is it connected somewhere?
It's connected under the stock trespass because, of course, as I said, we have the meat production and stealing side of the animal, and now we have the destructive side of the animal, right? And one will want to make sure that in taking care of his animal, in mining his animal, which he mines sometimes as a pet, as for sale, for meat production, to bring an income to the family, that he has a proper place to take care of the animal. And time again, we come up with animal trespass, animal damage. And people may not know, one of the most destructive animals to damage your garden can be a pig. Because if a pig were to let loose and decide to make time in your land, it will plow the entire place for you. It trample everything in its path. And then the time you pass and don't touch nothing. But once the pig decides to put his head down, it will plow the entire land for you. Whatever crop you have, they eat what they eat, you plow what you have to plow on.
Now, as an owner of the property of that happening, what are my rights, or what can I do about that?
Well, as an owner, first and foremost, you can impound.
Yeah.
Right? We don't advise people to take into their hands, and there are aspects of the law you can kill, but we are very careful and mindful of that nowadays, because sometimes it is no direct fault of the owner of the animal that this animal let loose. Sometimes the animal will bust his rope. Sometimes you sue someone for watching the situation, or someone lawful act by someone, they let loose this animal. So we always urge people, the best way to do is to capture and contact the police Pridia Lasting Department, have its ways and means of getting it to the pond. We assist you in getting to the pond. We use generally 2 areas, Mount Hartman and the prison, as control areas for those animals when captured. Recently, as Carver will tell you, the Pridia Lasting Task Force had to went and assist a farmer in capturing a cow. Just assist, because we use that as a community method. He wanted help, he had no one else, and they rendered this humanitarian effort of assisting him to capture a cow. But the dealings with it mainly, as I said, is destruction of animal. It could be very destructive to a farmer. And when a farmer loses true damage for animal, obviously, if he's not controlled by himself, he could well run himself into contravening of the law.
All right. Now, compensation for that, how does that work out now? In terms of a farmer losing his produce because of, someone animals gets loose and come about and destroys whatever what are the compensation fits into this? How that occurs?
Well, what usually happens that once somebody go through that great loss, they usually contact the Pridia Lasting Department, and we usually visit that site and check the amount of crops that is damaged. So whether it's potato, cabbage, lettuce, tomato, whatever crops that is damaged, we check that, and then we go to the ministry to get the appraisal. Right, and then we will visit that owner of that animal and show him that appraisal and what the appraisal says, whether it's macho or immature, because there is 2 type of spots on the appraisal, which is immature and macho. Immature meaning not in its mature stage, and macho is in its mature stage. So if it's in its mature stage, you might get a higher valuation. If it's in an immature stage, you might get a less valuation. And if the person or the owner of that animal is very reluctant to pay, then we will obtain a statement from the farmer, and then that matter will be brought to court.
Okay, understandable. All right. Don't forget, call us 435-2041, 435-2041. If you do have a question or two that you would like to ask the officers, I'm certainly sure they would certainly like to answer it if you do. Now, in terms of when it goes through this, it all goes also in terms of community assistance when it comes to dealing with problems of that nature. We did speak about being his brother's keeper, but how does the entire community fit into Pridia Lasting, and how could that help to prevent, that happening? Whether it's from livestock or, maybe someone sees somebody's animal loose, maybe they could tie it or stuff like that. What's some of the advice you'd like to throw?
Well, sometimes it usually happens. Someone might see that, that animal on that person's property and may tie it and consult the owner of that farm. And what the owner will do is like contact the department, or sometimes they don't contact the department, but sometimes they choose to impound that animal for themselves.
And contact the owner if they know who the owner is.
But in doing so, if impounding that animal, you have to ensure that that animal remain in the good care and health that you impound it in.
Okay.
So if that animal were to die in your care, while in your care, you have to pay twice times the value of that animal.
Okay.
So sometimes people impound animals, but they need to be very mindful
in terms of how you treat it.
Of how you treat it. So you have to ensure that that animal remain in good care and in good health.
All right. We do have a caller. Let's take this caller. That caller there just so we would. Let's also caller. I'm seeing someone posting a question here via WhatsApp. Let me see if I can show that. This person is saying they're traveling on the road and they see vegetable stands where produce are sold. You will not know if the produce is stolen or been bought legitimately. All vegetable stands should be authorized by government, no exception, and so the public will be protected from stolen and poisonous produce. So that's honest. I think we did come across and talking about that.
And
earlier.
just to add something to this, another program I mentioned, I believe one day it will come where vendors will have to have some tests to undergo. Not a health test, but may have to have a conviction record, have some ID to say, okay, I'm a vendor, I'm a licensed vendor, and I'm authorized to sell these particular produce. Okay. Similar to that as a food vendor.
Okay.
A food vendor has to undergo certain health tests. His facility have to be looked at and inspected. And the WhatsApp messenger was right. And it is time that we have something like that so that consumers can be protected.
All right. Let's take a caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to you and the police officers. I have not been able to follow the entire discourse, but I'm hearing something that made me feel that the destruction of products by livestock is now under pretty larceny. Because from what I just heard, it seems as though if an animal destroys your property, that you can report it to the pretty larceny task force. But my understanding of larceny is the theft of a farmer's products. So has the definition been stretched to include the destruction as well?
Okay, no. What happened? We are discussing livestock. And as we discuss livestock, that come across us to the damages that is done by animals on to farmers, and not the definition of pretty larceny being changed. We were just explaining what happens when animals destroy person's produce, what are some of the steps they can take to get remedy for the produce.
So it's separate and distinct from the pretty larceny task force.
No, it's not separate and distinct from the criminal task force. It's one of the responsibility of the pretty larceny task force. They also deals with that aspect as related to damage of a farm.
Okay. Because but it makes sense because they are already in the field dealing with farmers, and I guess they have an idea in terms of the process for getting valuations and so. But the only in terms of the law, I guess there are two separate laws that cover destruction as well as larceny, right? It is theft.
That is true. That is so true. One is damage and one is stealing. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify. I was wondering if they put together. But I guess it's convenient to do it the way that you've just mentioned. But it doesn't stretch the definition of larceny. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, caller. 435-2041, 435-2041. If you do have a question or two you would like to ask, so the officers will be happy. Now, we've seen someone is making a comment via the Facebook pages saying one of the biggest problem that farmers complaining about is the lack of response by the RGPF. Example, one called the police station. Some of the response will be, I am the only person that's on duty. There's no transportation available. Also, I call you back. I never return the call. Questions can you tell us when the relationship with RGPF have the with the farmers to give them assistance that the RGPF have their back, or what the RGPF need to do to improve the relationships between them and farmers? I guess you understand where the it's coming from there.
Right. Well, first and foremost, I want to say that we have had those comments before. Those questions and comments that's posed to us. Of course, some of them is true, and some of them are just excuse persons that they choose to make. And hence the reason why we are now bound to account for every report.
Okay.
And every report now is being monitored from all levels. We have a new system called the premise system that the supervisor now sees in his office and monitors every report that enters onto that system. Because we want to go, of course, go paperless sooner or later. Now, that's the reason why in every community base or every station area, we try to create some community group. Because we foresee, and one will ask the question, there is a pre-larceny report and there's a report of a suspected lunatic. Which one you choose? Now, you have to prioritize the report. Which one tend to be more destructive to the community? And one will agree is that you have to, of course, immediately pursue the mentally challenged person that is on the run. But you should not neglect that pre-larceny report. So what do you tell that caller? Okay, caller, let me just assure you that we have a report coming that we have to attend as soon as possible. So I will assure you we'll attend to your report, or if not, you can call us back as a reminder. And we try to instill those information to juniors. I must say it has worked sometimes, and sometimes you're not on the desk, you doesn't know what it tells the person. And as I say, I'm not making an excuse, but we are aware of the situation, and we're trying our best to build our community-based groups. Farm Watch, as I said, to the north of the island, if a report comes based on the nature of the report and you call a farmer, he will be ready to come to your assistance.
Let's take another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. Go right ahead.
I had that problem happen to me, right? Because I'm a livestock farmer, and I had a cow stolen, and I went through almost hell just to get it back. And I'm from St. Patrick's. Take care of animals in a place called Savannah, Swayze. That's close to Pathway. And it took me almost a month. I probably whole of liver, whole of different areas. I end up fighting Paul. I spent 3 days in Paul, searching the whole of Paul. I had so much experience with farmers that claiming that down there have so much of thieves, they can't even man an animal along there. When I get back the cow, it cost me over $1,500 paid just to get back that cow. Yeah, when I get it back, I call the police. I say, look, I get the cow. They tell me, well, get the transport and bring it up. They check me the next day to take information. The person who I paid for the information was willing to give the police the information who had the cow. The police elapsed. The person was even scared for their own life because they say that gang of guys that stole animals, they are so terrible that they're afraid to even give information. This problem is serious. It's a serious problem we're having in this country. Livestock farmers are losing animals daily. And to me, the police doesn't move fast enough, and they don't show you that interest. Because I had to go and find my cow for myself. You know? So I had to forget Sutter's police station and go and search and seek information for myself. You know what they did? They bring a postcard for me and tell me congratulations, for my hard work being done. Maximize how these people are crazy. Because when you're seeking police help, they do like, well, going and find an animal is like nothing. So, you're a livestock farmer, you lost your cow, that's nothing at all. Boy, just forget that. They don't show you that interest. They don't show you that interest, so you have to go on your own. I went on my own. Bro. I have a story I could give to the media. This story is so sweet. People call me a hero, because I lost my cow in St. Patrick's, and I find it in St. Andrews. And from finding my cow in St. Andrews, I find 3 other cows that people lost. 3 other cows that people lost. I find it back for them. Because I pick up on my way here, finding my own cow. So it's not easy out there, but when you talk about the livestock farmers going to pressure out here, we are going to real pressure. Because even this morning, a guy called me this morning, he said, from he lost his goat, 3 goats. And he called me, He didn't call the police, he called me, Strange. What are you calling me for? I'm not a police. I can't find his goat for him. I think I can help him out. But I'm just saying that we need to have something in place where livestock farmers can at least go to and seek real help. Because the people are so when they're busy, I don't know what they're busy doing. I don't know what they're up to. But this officer, I forget his name, Sergeant Lynch, told me it's trained all in China. This is that. That's all. You train in China, you can't find a simple cow. We have big arguments on it. Big arguments. I'm just saying that we livestock farmers are seriously impacted by this teaching, and we need a little bit of help. I don't know how we're getting it, but we need some help. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you, Gola. Thank you there for your contribution this morning. 435-2041, and we see, of course, another comment here via the Facebook page. One of the policies that should be implemented should be a policy notice of repeated offenders, and the public should be made aware of these people. If someone buys produce from these persons, they should be held accountable as well. Most of these thieves are getting their stolen produce sold, so they would continue. But if persons were to stop, buy from them, knowing their implications that they would have causing these problems. And I guess we did deal with that.
We did. I did speak about it before. On dishonestly receiving, you can be charged for dishonestly receiving, knowing that that person does not have any property, and you purchase from them.
All right. 435-2041. Let's take another call. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Listen, this problem that the man who lost the cow, the story related, could easily be solved. We should go back to the olden days when you had village policemen. The police department authorize and give permission to a prominent person in the village to look after the village in the sense of crime and this type of theft, whether it's vegetables or animals or what. We got caught up in technology, and technology is stifling us. We have to go through a whole process to find out something. If you have a village policeman, he's right there, he knows probably everybody, and he knows what is going on in the village, and he could collect information and pass it on quickly to the police department. And that is our problem. And unless we do this, we'll never solve this problem of previous larceny. Never. The police don't have enough resources to get to the crime scene, and they have to rely on all type of information passing from one to the other. But if you have the village policeman or the village person who is right there as a policeman, he could help start the process and speed up things very easily. I don't know why we don't get it at all. Sorry. Thanks.
Thank you. Also, caller, for your contribution. I'm not sure if you want to respond.
Just to add to that caller's point, and he speaks about the area official. Once a measure was instituted way back in 60s, 70s, where we had these area officials. These persons were communities that would be responsible for that community alongside with the police. And that police will relate to that person ever so often, a one-on-one. So what you had, that person knows everybody in the community. Where they walk in, what they do, if they farming. So the moment time he or she picks up something, he relates to that person. But we have a community nowadays that is internet-based, computer-based. And one feel if they tell the police they see this thing, the name go call, and you have to pay me. and we empathize with those persons that lost, but at the same breath, That's the reason why we try our best now to reintroduce and continue alongside this community-based area official, community groups, farmers groups. Once you have those things in place, it will be much easier to deal with, much easier to capture. Because the base is communication and information. If we don't have information, then we cannot have communication. If we have good communication, good information, crimes must be solved.
They will certainly go hand in hand.
They must go hand in hand.
Caller, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, GT, and how you do?
I'm doing fine. How about you this morning?
I'm very well, thanks, and good morning to you two handsome officers there. Now, I wonder if they're looking strong, if they are strong as they look, they can punch down a man. Can you all, officers?
Necessary.
If needs be. Now, GT, two questions. One, I want to ask you, before I ask the officers a question, why every day, Monday to Friday, you have people on your program talking about everything else, which are very important. Why not somebody or person to speak about the vulnerable senior citizens, better known as old people? Thank you. Think about that. Now, officers, I want to give you a tip if you ain't have it yet. The register farmers, and if you take that opinion, you getting them right away. Some of the register farmers is buying goods from people who doesn't, and that's fact, doesn't have garden, or maybe they have a little piece of garden, and they're selling it to here, there, and everywhere. Maybe abroad, maybe hotel, maybe supermarket, maybe market, maybe everywhere. Now, hear what my opinion. If you investigate those farmers, those register farmers, but not all, it's some, and they say, well, you see, well, they have 1,000 pounds of soap. You go to the garden, and you see they do not have that. Check them out, where they're buying it from, who they're buying it from. And if you are able to do that, you are catching them quick. But however, I know it's hard, the resources, the time, the men, the forces, but this is one way to the solution of the problem. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thank you also, caller. Thank you for your contribution this morning. I have someone who is asked me to ask you this. Of course, it's something that we actually spoke about already, but this individual is saying that one of the duty of the cow owners to secure the animals and suitable ropes and chains so that it does not become a nuisance. And they are saying it could be a threat to life and property. Animals trespass and destroy property and crops. But cow is in the bar to size up passerbys and charge after them.
Yeah, well, GT, we usually face with those problems. And I think sometimes persons may secure the animal properly, but some persons may be hunting through the bushes or out of maliciousness, just cut the rope. Okay. So it's not sometimes that people don't secure the animals. There are farmers, livestock farmers, who do their best to secure the animals, especially cows, because cows is a heavy animal and they can be ferocious at times. So there are people that try to just be malicious and cut the rope. Not only cows, goat, sheep, So we advise people just to be more careful, in securing your animals and stuff like that. If you can have them in a closed area, in a pen, you cannot have all your cows in a pen, but I know of one livestock farmer that fence a large piece of property and have those cows let loose inside of it. Right. You go cut feed and feed them. They are secure. So they are secure.
All right. Let's take another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome. Good morning to you, caller.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning. The lady who just called, she made a valid point, because I know personally, well, not presently, but in the recent past, there were people who had, sometimes you have contracts to supply certain places with X amount of produce. They buy from people who do not actually produce those products. And what she said is a fact.
All right, caller, thank you so much there. I do have another comment I'd like to read to you officers. This individual said, I caught a guy on the video stealing my lemons. Philippines. That was it back in 2019. Today, the guy has never been arrested. I've been to the court twice. And the last time I told the police prosecutor I would not come back because of the gentleman never showed up. The magistrate said that she's going to order a warrant for his arrest. Up to this day, 2023, nothing happened. The police called me sometime in the late 2022 to get a summons to appear in court. Again, it makes no sense. So they're saying that as a farmer, how can we rely on the law when even video evidence is in hand, and the law of justice is still not being served? And the person was asked if you would like to respond to that.
Well, just so a quick response. What happens is that, and you have to understand, there are departments and sections that respond for different things. No excuse, and we are aware there are a number of persons out on bench warrant, and you may see them every day, but the police would not see them because they invade the police in all way and fashion. And we of course intend to put more resources in finding those individuals. Sometimes it's very, very difficult. You have times you want a man and the police needs him. You see him in your community, but every time the police comes, he runs. If the police do a stick around here, he don't comes at all, he don't suffer. So it is true those things happen. But I want to assure the person that, continue on the trend of hope that one day they will be captured and justice will be done.
Well, from what she's saying, he's captured already, but the matter is before the court. Yeah. So that matter is out of the Pre-Dalasini officer's hand. Yeah. That matter is before the prosecution department, and they are the person responsible for capturing that person and bring him to court, because they have a team for that. But I'd just like to reiterate what the caller before said on farmers stealing from farmers. If a farmer complains that he misses produce, what we usually do, I know from my department, we usually visit the supermarkets and persons who purchase stuff. And once you cannot give a good account of how you purchase that stuff, then you could be also charged. Once that farmer could come forward and identify that that's his stuff, you can also be charged.
And that you mean that's a supermarket?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what we usually do, visit the supermarket and they have the records as to who they purchase from. And no, the supermarket don't purchase goods without you having a farmer's ID. Yes.
Officers, we're coming to the end of this morning, so I'm not sure if anyone of you just want to give us a summary of what we spoke about this morning and a bit of advice before we say goodbye.
Well, just as a summary quick, first I want to start by saying thanks to UGT on the behalf of the Commissioner of Police, of course, and his management team. They are the one that have us here. The Central Division, we have Superintendent George and his management team. And on my own behalf, I want to thank you for having us here. And quick summary, it is always important to be aware of pre-dalasini. It is one that can throw you off your livelihood. We know of the dangers of livestock. Both it enhances you in health if you get good meat, and the other part, it could damage your family. So we ask persons to be very mindful as to where and who you purchase those meat from, and even purchasing vegetable produce. Ensure you ask questions. Where the farmers, where it comes from, those questions would cause you to live a little bit longer. So thank you for having us, GT, to you and your staff and your management team. We say thank you very much.
I want to say thank you also for being your officers. Always interesting to get the comments from you. And thank you, folks, a whole lot.
Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Right. Hey, folks, that's where we come to the end of To The Point for today. Join us again for another edition tomorrow here on Classic Radio and GBN TV. Have yourself a good one, folks. That's where we come to the end of To The Point for today. Goodbye.